March 12, 1987, in Kogi State, Okene local government. First, I was enrolled in a Catholic primary school, Redeemer Nigerian Primary School, and then I was transferred to Model Primary School in Asokoro. So in Model Primary School, I joined the Boy Scout movement as a Cub Scout because I was really fascinated about the role of scouts in the society at that time. So I finished primary school and I gained admission into Government Secondary School, Karo. I continued again in my Boy Scout activity. In SS2, I was screened, interviewed, and appointed as the Deputy Utility Prefect. So I finished secondary school at the age of 16 or 17, 16 going 17. I had good grades. I wrote post-UME. My first post-UME, I traveled to Adamawa State. So it's always been a thing for me to hit the road and travel really long journey. At that time, the road was terrible, but there was no insecurity. And so I wrote JAM 4 times, no admission. But I didn't just sit and wait. So I remember this evening, I was walking around my neighborhood and I saw an advertisement on the wall, teachers needed urgently. So it was pasted on the wall of the school. And I went to the security guy and I said, I want to apply for this job. And he just literally took me into the proprietor's office. And I met an older woman and I greeted her and I said, I'm here to apply for the role. And she asked what qualifications I had. I said, secondary school leaver. And then she said, well, we would hire you now if you can teach primary 1 to 3. I said, which subjects? She said, all the subjects. Well, I had nothing doing and I asked her how much was the salary. She said 5,000 naira per month. So I was like, okay. So for me, I didn't even process this. I just said, okay. But I only did this work for 3 weeks. What happened was I got another offer, this time at a cyber cafe. And because I was really interested in technology, so I took the offer without even thinking, and the salary increase was 10,000. So when I took my resignation to the proprietors and said, oh, madam, I have to leave, I thought, oh, because I did well, even if I had worked for 3 weeks, they would give me my 4-week salary. So that experience started teaching me the reality of the labor market. They counted 3,500 naira and handed over to me. And I was shocked, and I thanked her, and I left, but I went to my new job. So what was my role in this cyber cafe? So I was the cafe attendant. My role is to sell card. So then there was no personal computers. Nobody had laptops. So you want to access the internet, you have to come and use the desktop. So we have 15 computers and 1 server. So you come to me, I sell you 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, and sometimes I do night shifts because people want to do overnight browsing. But I was having fun because what this means is I have free access to internet because I'm the guy manning the server. But I took an interest in IT, the technical part, troubleshooting, networking, wiring, and whatnot. My boss at that time, Engineer Baba, he was an IT expert. So he had the cyber cafe, but he had an office where he services computer and services clients across northern Nigeria. So I was watching Engineer Baba at that time. People bring their personal computers to him, they'll bring their desktop. I watch him dismantle it, remove the hard drives, the hard drive disk, the memory, the processor. He would service it, he'll fix them back, couple it, and power it. So I was really intrigued. So I kept watching him. Once in a while, I would ask him questions. Luckily for me, he would take his time and he would explain. And then once in a while, he would call me to unscrew, the computers for him to come and work. So I would be the one to unscrew. So when he's finished a couple, I would go and screw them back, So he was carrying me along. So one day, a client walked in less than 2 hours. I was done installing the antivirus, update the software, the operating system, register it for 1 year. So I just asked him, so how much will you pay? He said 10,000. I said, okay, that's fine. So I collected the 10,000. I gave him the computer. I recorded the money and I kept it. A few weeks later, another person walked in with a personal computer and same issue, virus wahala. And I said, okay, it will take him 2 days. That now he would drop his computer, he would drop a down payment of 10,000 naira, and then when I fix it, he comes back in 2 days and he'll pay a balance. So he left in less than 2 hours. I fixed. I had a personal computer for 2 days. He came back after 2 days. He paid his balance. So Engineer Baba, when he was going through the record, he now saw that I made 30,000 naira income for the company in less than 1 month. And then he called me and And of course, he knew what I did because the report was there. And then he said that he was going to move me to the technical department. And they increased my salary. So that's the exciting part for me, from 3,500 to 10,009, 15,000. One fateful day, my boss called the office and said they should deploy me to go and service one of his important clients. That the CEO of the organization had called that his personal computer had issues, that I should go, and because he was not in town. And at that time, I was one of the best hands. I wasn't a graduate, I was just a secondary, but I was the best hand. So he deployed me. So I got there. This big organization, the secretary took me to another waiting room, then they took me to the gas waiting room, then they finally took me to his office, really big. And then the man looked at me, young man, how are you? I'm really frustrated. My laptop, my desktop is slow, is hanging. I have deadline, I have emails to send. You know, he was just wailing and complaining, and he was frustrated. He was a big oga. He was asking me if I want tea or coffee or biscuits. My mom was like, I just want to do my job and give you invoice. And so I now said, sir, you have to excuse me for this from this, because it's usually, you know, the PC is down, then the screen is. So he's left. He was on the couch because his office is big. He has like conference table, has a sofa, has like. So I went under. I dismantled. I literally dismantled his computer, serviced it, brushed it up, you know, used the cleaner to blow all the dust, installed everything back, coupled it, power it, ran antivirus, ran diagnosis, update it, register it, fixed his email server, so all his emails were just downloading. I finished. I said, sir, I'm done. So he came, he sat down, he was clicking, he was looking at me, he was clicking, he was looking at me, he was clicking. I said, sir, is anything the problem? He said, no, you can go and give the secretary your info. I said, thank you, sir. Then he introduced himself. I also told him my name. He shook me, he thanked me. He was really appreciative, and I left. I wrote my invoice. I went to the next client and I moved on. One day I ran into him, and then he called me, young man, how are you? I'm like, fine, thank you. You remember me? I said, of course I remember you. You're the man who does not know how to fix your computer. You see, then I tease clients like, you don't know how to fix your computer, because then they have PhDs, but they don't know anything about computers, you know? So he said, I really like you, you know, you're funky, you're young. And then he said something to me that struck me. He said, would you like to work with me? Then I paused and I reflected back. My first employer said, work for me. The proprietress employed me to work for her. Engineer employed me to work for him as a cafe attendant and then a technical guy. Ewa Eleri said I should work with him. So I was just amazed. I was just looking at him. And then he said, how much is your current salary? I said, 15,000. He said, I'll double it. I didn't even think again. And I accepted. And I said, done. When do you want me to start? You know, so I resigned from Engineer Baba and I started. After 6 months, I did everything. Everything was fine. So now I go to the office. First, I just heat water because they have budget for tea, coffee, cookies, biscuits. So I just kept eating cookies, biscuits. So I started getting bored. And because I was that mobile IT guy, so I'm not used to staying in one place. I was a mobile guy. And I think my then boss just figured that this guy is about to resign. And by the way, this time I had my own personal client base. And that was when broadband internet came out. So you had this IPNX box, and then you connect it to the router and give Wi-Fi. I was really good with these things. So I had my clients. That time I was a vendor to IPNX, you know, I was that supplier. So I was installing this in houses in my time, I would say too. I was being paid really well. So I do my 9 to 5, and I do from 5 to like 10, 11, servicing my clients, checking, doing rounds. I was making extra income, you know. So I think my boss just knew, okay, this guy is about to resign, and if he resigns, he will be on his own doing stuff. He called me into his office, Hamzi. So he was the one that gave me the name Hamzi. Yeah, because he said he likes me. I was young, I was funky. He said, Hamzi, come. I came, he said, Hamzi, do you even know what we do in this organization? So in my mind, like, as long as you pay my salary, I don't care. So he said, I said no. He said, Hamzi, okay. So he took a pen and a sticky note. He wrote the website of the organization. He wrote the UN website, and he gave me, and he said, go and study it. I'll call you in a few weeks to ask you some questions. I'm like, okay. Well, as long as you pay me the salary of my boss, I'll do it. So I went to ICID website. I was checking them out. I was reading about what they do, So ICID is an environment and energy advocacy organization. They do high-level advocacy, they do research, they do policy work. So they work with National Assembly member, presidency. They also go for all these UN convention. They speak as civil society. You know, they do a lot of campaigns for high level. That's why they always have tea, free tea and coffee and cookies, because we always receive, you know, visitors. So I was reading, I was downloading PDFs and reading, and then I went to the UN website. I downloaded all the treaties, the Kyoto protocols. I was reading about climate change, reading about the Rio Convention. I was just reading plenty of stuff. Then from there, I was now looking at what other young people were doing around the world, how they were leading campaigns on cleaning the environment. You know, I was doing so many research, and I was joining Google groups. So I started joining Yahoo groups, Google group. So I was reading what other young people were doing. So I'll check them out on Facebook. They're so young. I'm like, this guy is, I'm older than this guy. He's mobilizing hundreds of people. They're cleaning up oh, that's so good. This is what, I used to do this in Boy Scout, but not me. I used to go and get people to do it. Like, well, this guy's leading campaign. He's doing this. Oh, wow. Okay, so I was messaging them, sending them emails, we're joining groups, and we became friends. So I just joined a lot of virtual network, you know. So if there's a World Environment Day, people will send pictures and reports of what they're doing, you know, and I was so inspired and amazed. So an opportunity came on various groups that the UN was organizing a pre-conference for youth leaders to come to Nairobi and have a deliberation and present a position paper to environmental ministers. So first we go 2 days before the ministers and do all those deliberations. So I applied, then I was 18 or 19, I applied, and EWAS gave me a recommendation. I just submitted. After months, I just got an email saying, congratulations, we've selected you to represent Nigeria at the UN headquarters in Nairobi, the regional office. So they selected 2 people per country, and from over 160 countries from around the world. That I'm representing Nigeria with another female, because UN is always, you know, balanced. So there'll be 1 male, 1. So I was the male. I just ran to EWA's office. I was just so excited. He said, "Hamzat, what is it?" I said, "UN has just invited me." "Oh, that's great, congratulations. Do you have a passport?" "I don't have a passport." And the email says, "Scan your data page so they can book your ticket." "Hamzi, go and do your passport so you can fly." And then he approved my 1 week leave too. So I went, I did my passport, I sent the data page, they sent me a flight ticket. For me, I didn't feel it was real. So I got to the airport, I cleared immigration, custom, and I boarded Ethiopian Airlines. Like, this is real, man. I'm going to the UN in Nairobi. I got to the UN, and that's how I got involved in international politics. So we did that, we came back to Nigeria, but then there was pressure from EWA that I cannot work for ICID and not go to school here. So he was really worried and he was disturbing me. And I wasn't making any move, because to me, I was like, I don't need a degree. I already have a job. And even if EWA fires me, I would still get paid by my clients, you know? EWA went to procure a form in University of Abuja and literally forced me to fill it, submit. So I got admission to study political science while I was in ICID. And he said, you know, I can find a balance to still work and go to school, since it's in Gwagwalada, so it's just about 45 minutes drive. So I was doing my BSc, working with ICID, and then I left. But he told me I must promise him that I was going to finish. I said, yeah, I'll finish. I'm going to finish. Hamzi, you must finish. It's a promise. So I'll finish. So I left. I started following the money. But when I started, I had to drop out of school. So I dropped out of school, and then I was doing Follow the Money, and Saved by Gaga went viral, and it became a success and brought a lot of attention. And then we had to formalize the campaign, and that's how we registered. So we wanted to register Follow the Money. CAC rejected the name Follow the Money. We sent Open Development Watch. They rejected it. We sent a couple of names. They just kept saying it's not in line with something. They kept giving terms, because we're not the one dealing with them. We got a lawyer. So finally, I think I got on the edge, and I told our lawyer, sue them. File a complaint in court that I'm ready to take CAC to court. So he told the people that my client wants to take it to court because all your reasons really is not justifiable. So finally, they approved Connected Development. And that's how code was registered on CAC, and then we said, okay, Follow the Money becomes a campaign or project under Code, and that's how we got registered in 2013. Code in 2022 will be 10 years, so I've been running Code for 10 years. For Follow the Money story, technology played a big role. So my smartphone, taking pictures, of course, with permission of the community members. So I was taking pictures, doing short videos, and of course, I understand basic Hausa because they don't understand English in Bagega community in Zamfara State. And then coming to Abuja, leveraging on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, aggregating this information that we call data. I'm just launching a campaign with a hashtag that went viral. First, it went from trending on Twitter in less than 48 hours. So in less than 72 hours, the then President Goodluck Jonathan, approved the sum of $5.3 million, which was close to $1 billion naira. And then that's how Follow the Money started. And we ensured we followed the money, from the disbursement, and ensure it moved from Abuja to Gusau, to Anka, to Bagega. Interventions happened that saved 1,500 children. And before then, over 700 children had died. So it was underreported because in the news report, it was saying 400. But when I went on ground and I did my fact check, it was over 700 children. So this intervention saved 1,500 children. But that was not, we also had other successes. Now you have access road, tiled access road from Gusau to Bagega. So it takes you less than 1.5 hours to get to Bagega from Gusau. Something that takes you close to 9 hours. Now it takes you less than 1.5 hours. They have solar-powered water. They have state-of-the-art primary healthcare center. They have renovated primary school with a new computer laboratory built for them. Now they have mobile network. The last time I was there, I tweeted from Bagega. The first time I visited, there was no network. When you get to Anka, no more network. So today, the GDP, they have more businesses in the community. They can communicate with the outside world. They're more integrated with digital technology, and their kids are going to school. They're healthy. So for me, this is just one intervention, and we moved from one campaign. Now, Follow the Money is running, over 30 campaigns per quarter. So every 3 months, because now Follow the Money is the fastest growing social accountability movement. We have 8,000 members, in African countries, but we have 10 chapters. So we have offices in 10 countries that are being led by campaigners and activists. We'll have members from across other countries. So they're running campaigns led by citizens. So they're taking ownership and ensuring fiscal accountability, particularly at the grassroots. For me, it makes me feel sad because what this also means is no one is deliberately investing in the potentials of young people. And what this means is creating a vacuum, it's creating a gap, particularly a leadership gap, because for me today I can lead Code because of my experience. And if you look at it, it's not because of my degree. By the way, finally I got a degree, after 7 years in university. So I dropped out 4 times. There was a time I just dropped out because I had to go to the UN for a meeting. So I said, instead of writing exam, there was a time I had over 18 carryovers. So for me, I feel terrible and I feel sad, but I'm not just wailing and agonizing. I'm actually organizing and creating opportunities. So for me, connected development is a platform, an opportunity-driven platform that builds younger people. So we groom and build younger people and unleash them to continue to flourish. Just last week, I lost my head of research. This is someone who we've groomed and invested in for the past 3 years and just said, well, he has a better offer. And the offer comes with even a package for their family. So these are people who even get good remuneration in Nigeria, but because this counter offer even provides packages for their family. And with insecurity, with instability, and lack of investment in education, they just prefer, we need to go to a sane society. So I've lost my head of research. Now we don't even have anyone leading that department. So it's a big problem for organizations and institutions. And of course, we're losing institutional memory because we've invested a lot. in these people. And they go in with our talent, they go in with our institutional knowledge and memory, because now there's not even time to do onboarding, because it will take you a while before you get the person, and 1 month cannot even do to onboard the person. And then how do you even talk to your partners who already know this guy and who are comfortable with this guy? So it is really a challenge for us, even at, before now, it's only the private sector. Now even civil society is feeling the heat. Before now you only see doctors leaving. Now virtually all skilled labor is leaving the country in big numbers. Over the years, with my experience with advocacy, with campaigning, every law is subject to review and amendment. As much as I'm passionate to transition and hopefully in the future become the chairman of EFCC, yes, currently the law does not allow it because I'm not a police officer, or I've never been a police officer. And I don't want to be selfish about it. If the law does not get amended, as long as we see reform, we see institutional reform, we see results and changes, particularly in financial crime, I think I would find contentment in that. So it's not about me as much as I'm ambitious to become the chairman of EFCC. But I think also is, before now, I've always remained on the sidelines. There's this notion that politics is dirty, that is going to make some of us that are successful in other phases of life stain our credibility and our name and years of effort and work. But then who then changed Nigeria if we as young professionals are looking at politics as a dirty game? Where has it taken us? We've agonized, we've complained, we've ranted on Twitter space, on Twitter, on Facebook. Nothing has literally changed. So for me, I'm having conversation, I'm having dialogue and knowledge sharing with different groups. And just yesterday, I was part of a group in Kano that launched the Green Nigeria movement. And this is a political movement, it's purely politics. And we are all young professionals. So I sit on the Nigerian Young Professionals Board. And for us as a non-for-profit, we're not supposed to use the organization to do politics. So what we now did was to start an initiative under the non-for-profit that is a purely political, but not partisan. So we do not belong, or we do not align with any political party. But what our ideology is to organize, mobilize, educate, and deliver 40 million registered voters that we can tell who, so that we can say collectively, after consultation, this is our candidate, and this 40 million would vote for this person. Because we believe that if we can get it right by supporting a political leader from any platform, any political party that represents our ideal and our demand, and we have an understanding, what can happen is the president can propose amendments that would be of positive effect to young people, to our economy. So for instance, we say we will not do politics, but political decision is affecting each and every one of us. So the price of airline ticket moved one way from 25,000 to 50,000 within 24 hours. The price of fuel, petroleum pump price, moved from official rate of 165 or 64 naira to, in some state now, you buy fuel for 50 naira per liter because of political decision. Is it diesel? Is it gas? Now, is it even Jet 1 fuel that has now gotten to about 650 naira and growing? Without any political decision, without any political response or intervention. So it's more like a free-for-all. So what we've now agreed and understood is, we say we're young professionals, we will not do politics, but politics is disturbing us. So now the value of the salaries we're even paying ourselves and our colleagues is nothing to write home about. There's no power. We are running gen, diesel is expensive, it's not even available. So even with your money, you can't even provide yourself luxury. So it's even as if your wealth is now a threat to you and the society, because you are now a target of kidnapping. But if there was mandatory free healthcare that is covered by health insurance provided by government, if there was free education, if there was access to water, if there was access to security, then your wealth will not be a threat to you and your community members. So for us, was saying we would not remain in the sideline, we would not continue to agonize, we would organize, we would mobilize, educate, and bring young people, women, and people living with disability to decide the fate of Nigeria, because we must change the political journey of our country at this critical time. I am glad you asked that question. You know, a lot of people have a misconception about grants and donor money. Donor reporting, donor checks and balances, you have audits, you also have a board that oversights your activity, that approves your budget and also oversights your spending, and you retire too. So there's that misconception, but again, I can only speak for Connected Development. And maybe I'll tell a short story. So in 2013, I got an email from Indigo Trust. Indigo Trust is a civic technology donor organization that supports innovators and organizations around Africa. At that time, they were visiting Nigeria, and they had followed our work on Twitter and said they wanted to meet with us. So they finally came to Abuja. We had a meeting. They asked us to submit a proposal. And you know, I remember at that time, I've never written a financial proposal before, a grant proposal before. So I used Google to download templates. I remember I submitted an 11-page document, and they replied with one line, please can you summarize in 2 pages, you know? And then I had to go and, you know, cut and submitted 3 pages. And that time I asked for 3 things. 1, office space, because then we didn't have an office. I was always going to fast food joints just to get power and get a conducive environment. So we asked for an office space, an open office, co-working space. We asked for a furnishing of this space and internet access, and then resources to travel to various communities and do campaigns and advocacy. So at that time they approved over £9,000, which also went viral on Twitter, because media houses took it and said, oh, follow the money, you know, have been awarded over, and at that time it was 2.5 million. That's the value of, you know, the foreign aid. And this is where peer pressure comes in, because then I was really young, 25 years, going 26, with 2.5 million naira. And what was raining then was end of discussion. Over 95% of people that called me at that time said, oh, these people are in the UK, you can just send them pictures, they don't know where the places are. You can just go to one community around the FCT, send them pictures, write a report, doctor receipt, and just by an end of discussion. You know, you're a young guy, you know, these people will not ask, even if they ask you for anything, you know, you just send them pictures. You know, there was a lot of pressure from over 75% of people that called or sent me messages were asking me to go and buy an end of discussion. That's Honda end of discussion that was raining. And for me, what did I do? And then I didn't have a board. It was just me as a founder, and I had a few volunteers. I rented a 45 square meter space, an open space. We furnished it, bought tables, bought chairs, and for every spending I made, I was asking for receipts. When we did community outreach, of course, the bikes that takes us, they don't have, you know, they don't have receipts. So I would write an undertaking on paper. I would get them to put, you know, thumbprint it and put their phone numbers. And I was scanning this document. I was also translating it from Naira to pounds, because the people, our partners, donor partners, only understood pounds. And I was scanning this receipt. And of course, I was doing amateur finance. But what I did was, after 1 year, I sent pictures of the space, of we using the space, because we were organizing a lot of open data party, a lot of meetups. So that was where young people converge in Abuja at that time. Unlike now that you have various civic tech hubs. That was the first ever civic tech space for young people. You know, you have a laptop, you want internet, you want electricity. That was a place, you know. We were doing various meetups and organizing there. Send them pictures, videos, scanned all the receipts, put it on Excel sheet, and did the conversion from naira to dollar. I sent it after 12 months. The executive director of the organization got back to me and said that the board was so impressed that I took the effort to go through all of this, sending pictures, sending programs report, finance report, amateur by the way. And they awarded us a £20,000. This time they said use 10,000 for what you've done before. That's renew your office rent, run your office, transportation, internet. But the other 10,000, pay yourself salary, recruit a finance officer that can do a proper accounting system, and pay your volunteers. My first salary for connected development was 130,000, and then later 150,000. So the first salary I got when we got this doing, so I gave myself a contract, and that's how we got registered. We set up a board, and then we're answerable to our board. So we have heavy oversight, and with karma also. We understand the law. We are advocates, for code, like I said, I can only speak for code. So that's how we transition. And then after the £20,000, we got £99,000 for 3 years. So multi-year funding, the same Indigo Trust, And then before we grew, and now we're being funded by Mercator, before also by Osiwa Fund Foundation, Luminate, Hilton Foundation, School Foundation, So these people will not give you their money. It's not a free-for-all, and then they will go and forward it. No, you will do reports. There are a series of reports. Some you do quarterly reports, some you do biannual reports, and then you also have to submit your independent audited account, internal and external. Then the board, every quarter, you would face the board and give account of programs, finance, and human resource. So I think there's a misconception, but we're heavily regulated. The civil society space by government. I've received FIRs in my office. They've come and looked at our payroll, and they're trying to be sure that we're actually remitting payee tax. You think the Nigerian government does not have access to my account? You think I've not been profiled by the Department of State Security? Me that always send petition to EFCC, DSS, presidency. It's not easy accessing grants. It's not easy accessing funds. There are some donors that after the project, they've not renewed. So if it was that easy, then money would just be coming in, The times that you have to cut down, overhead, that means sacking staff just because a project has a lapse and they didn't renew. It's not easy. No, we're not ready. We're just providing lip service. So right now, the federal government is saying they're implementing an energy mix. It's either you're for clean energy or you're for dirty energy. You cannot have an energy mix. The world is talking about phasing out fossil fuel, and there's a target. Some is saying 2030, 2050. Nigeria doesn't have a target. Or we keep shifting the goalpost. So now we're saying we're doing energy mix. What does that mean? Renewable energy, coal. Now we're also trying to explore nuclear energy. When coal power plants in Europe is being shut down, when people are, they're going into green cars, electric cars, we were still talking about commissioning coal power plants. Under an EU-funded project, I went on a tour in Europe to experience the decommission of coal power plants, but not also only experiencing that. I was now interacting with, the community members where this coal power plants have been for maybe 60 years or 30 years. How they've been exposed to cancer, they've been exposed to environmental degradation. That even when they sued the government and they got millions of euro, they still lost their kidneys, their livers are failing. So even with the money, they cannot save themselves. That's, Europe decommissioning coal power plants. But we were now mining coal and now commissioning coal power plants and saying, providing lip service that we're doing an energy mix. For climate change, yes, the impact of climate change has also affected insecurity, affected food security, and forced migration. Look at the Lake Chad. I've been to the Lake Chad. I've traveled across the green belt, the Great Green Wall, the 11 frontline states. I've crossed into, at some point crossed into Cameroon, Chad, without even knowing. It's when my phone now say I'm roaming. I'm like, how am I roaming with it. So then I now know that, oh, I've literally crossed, because it's desert, arid land, you know? And we're not preparing. Look at the Great Green Wall, for instance. President Jonathan at that time said he unveiled it with 10 billion. Later, when I was doing my research and following the money, they said they only got access to 2 billion. But the law is clear that 15% from the excess crude account goes to the Great Green Wall Initiative. It's automatic. So what is happening to this is billions of dollars. And then when you go to these frontline states, they don't even have nurseries. You know, they don't even, in some states, they don't have forest guards. In some states, the communities don't even understand what the government is doing. You know, people are still cutting down trees because there is energy shortage, both cooking energy and household energy. Women and children, according to the last data from WHO, 95,000 women die annually. So after HIV and AIDS and malaria, this is the third highest killer of women and children, because people are cooking from firewood, open stove. You know, kerosene is killing us, firewood is killing us. We're not investing in gas. We're flaring gas in the Niger Delta. In Port Harcourt, that's why we're experiencing suits. In another 10 years, a lot of people will have liver, kidney failure. So we're not even investing in the present, let alone planning for the future in my country, Nigeria. So it's just lip service. You know, the codes now annually, because we're also UN accredited. So we supported 3 of our colleagues to go to the UN climate talks last year in Scotland, you know? But it was just talk, no concrete action. So that's why leadership is everything. Politics in Nigeria is everything. So we cannot stay on the sideline, because all these decisions are made as politicians. So they're made by, so there's no political will. They're making the wrong political decisions. And we don't want a leader that will take us into crisis. Look at what is happening between Russia, you know, and Ukraine. Look at what happened in Warsaw, in Poland. I've been to Poland. How they, you know, just, so we're not even learning from history. We're not learning from people, or we're not taking the lessons from people who have experienced the same thing we experience. The fact that they experience the same thing, that does not mean we should experience it too now. Why can't we go and read and transfer knowledge and transfer technology and even do better than them? Why must we go through the same routes? The world is changing rapidly. We should be thinking about 22nd, 23rd century, not 19th century and doing analog. The world is digital. We're talking about big data. We're talking about artificial intelligence. No, we're here, we're talking about NIMS. Talking about things that, you know, everything is centered around politics, be it environmental policies and framework, because we signed on the NDCs, the National Determined Contribution. We have our own commitment. Have we met those commitments? Never say never, but for now, I'm really excited with what I'm doing. I'm serving, because for me, again, we need to look at politics as an avenue to serve. And what I'm doing with Code, with Follow the Money and other initiatives that I'm part of, is service to my country, service to people, and also leaving a legacy. Because for me, I'm conscious about what will people say about me if I drop dead today. I don't want to be forgotten. Even if I will be forgotten, I don't want my initiative to die. And that's why I'm big on transition, leadership transition. Honestly, I don't know if I would run at any point in my career or if I would take up appointment, but I've also told myself that I would always stand by my values and my beliefs. And that's why it's important to get the right political leadership that represents our values, that represents our beliefs collectively, and that also carries the interest of the people at heart, not a selfish leader, because what we have now are transactional leaders. So for me, I'm open to a lot of opportunities, but I always say that no matter what I do, I must have fun, and I must enjoy and like it. What I'm doing with Code and Follow the Money, I'm enjoying it, I like it. So for me, coming to work every day, it's about I'm always looking forward to coming back, to traveling to this community, to service them, to providing information, to having dialogues with government and holding them to account. So for me, it's fun, it's learning, it's growing and grooming people. So if I would venture into appointive or elective politics, I must find fulfillment in them and a purpose in them. Because here, I find purpose, I find fulfillment and contentment. And I don't want to lose that for anything. My peace is more important to me. And if I get appointed and my principal wants me to go against my values, one thing I learned from one of my mentors, Amina J. Mohammed, is never be scared to exit any office. Never. And never resist it. If anyone wants you to do something that is against your belief or your values, resign and leave. If you're good, other opportunities will come knocking. So for me, interestingly, a lot of the goodwill messages I received, they still keep saying I'm just starting. In my mind, I'm like, I feel like I'm 70 years in my head. You know, I'm always tired. I'm always burnt out. You know, now I forget things that even my kids will now start saying, Daddy's old, he fall asleep on the couch, you know? And people are saying I'm just starting when I'm 35, you know? But for me, I'll still remain a strong voice for youth and young people, because now I'm transitioning from being a youth to being a young person, you know? I'll be a strong voice for them. I'll continue to create platforms for them and provide opportunities for them. But I'll also leave the space for them, you know? So I currently sit on over 17 boards, both internationally and locally, and I currently chair 3 of those boards. After I turn 35, I would send resignation to over half of those boards, and I'll publicly make a statement on the boards that I am stepping down from. And I'll recommend, because again, what I've deliberately done is invest in younger people. So I'll recommend younger people from across Nigeria that can take up those positions. Because for me, creating opportunities for young people is exiting the space and leaving it for them, not being there and saying, I'm an advocate for youth. No. I would continue. Being an advocate for you does not mean I have to take their space, you know? And I think youth also need to learn that the older generation would not want to relinquish power or leave the space for you. You have to take it, you know? I tell people that as much as I have a seat on the table because I am a voice of the grassroots and of the young people and youths, I have my own table and I come with my own chair. So I don't wait for someone to create opportunities for me. But yes, I don't want other young people and youth out there to go or to struggle, you know, to break through. I want to be able to mentor them and guide them. So by the way, I will launch a mentorship program and make it more formal, where annually I take some people under my wings, transfer knowledge, guide them and shape them and expose them. Because see, a lot of youth do not have exposure. I tell people that getting on a plane, there's something you learn that in the classroom, you will never learn it. That experience, that exposure, clearing immigration custom from your country, then getting on a plane and flying for 5 hours, getting to another country. Probably they don't even speak English, and then clearing immigration custom, negotiating with a taxi man in that country, converting money, exchanging money, buying goods, or procuring services, or even eating local food in those countries. You can never get it from reading or watching documentary. So for me, traveling, exposure is one thing young people don't have opportunity for. And this is where I want to invest my time, my limited resources and energy to, creating avenue for them to experience, you know, the intrigues of international politics and advocacy, you know, experiencing different culture. Because no matter how you read, no matter how you watch documentary or listen to anything, it's not like being there. There's one confidence it gives. There's this self-awareness that you gain from just traveling. And so for me, I've traveled to over 40 African countries. I've been to all the continent except Southern America. Due to COVID, I was unable to go to Southern America. So I've traveled. There was a time I traveled 48 hours from Nigeria to Cambodia. Let me tell you a short story. So for you to go to Cambodia, because Cambodian government do not have representative in Africa. So if you want to go to Cambodia, it's either you go to Washington, D.C., that's going to America, or you go to Dubai to apply for visa. So the US State Department, through their yearly program, so what they did was they flew me around the world to train emerging leaders in Southeast Asia, in Africa, in Europe. I was training young emerging leaders. And because I was really good with what I do, and I was training them with experience, not theory, practical experience and example. And that's why I tell people that, see, if you do work, even if it's in one community, one village, where the internet is one bar, people will find you. I got a letter with my Nigerian ordinary passport. I boarded Emirates to Dubai, from Dubai to Southeast Asia and then to Cambodia. I was flying for 2 good days non-stop without a visa and with my ordinary passport, but with just a letter from the ambassador in Cambodia saying I am a guest of the American government and people, and that they have gotten me clearance from the Cambodian government to fly. I still have that letter, to fly from Nigeria. In short, when I got to the airport, Emirates was expecting me. Are you Mr. Hamzat Lawal? Come. There was not too much talk or clearance. There, you have clearance. In short, some passengers were looking at me. No visa, ordinary passport, not diplomatic passport. I got to Cambodia in less than 5 minutes. There was an SUV waiting for me and I was taken to the ambassador's residence for a welcome dinner. And that's why for me and for other young people, you must remain conscious of what you do and how you do it and how you impact life and what you're passionate about, and pursue your own vision and dream. Because for me, that changed everything about how I see life. I was treated like a diplomat, ordinary passport. In short, my experience in Cambodia, so when I got to Cambodia, there were hundreds of people that they were about to deport with handcuffs, mostly of black race. The immigration officer was telling me that they had over 200 Nigerians in their prison, not awaiting trial, they're just there rusticating. Because either they were caught with drugs or they were trying to illegally cross their border. So they would just arrest them and forget them in prison. The guy was intrigued that, how is it possible that this young guy with an ordinary passport, the same Nigeria passport without value, will have the embassy all mobilized for him and escorting him to the residence of the ambassador? He couldn't ask me who I was. Of course, you could tell from his face. And he didn't ask me any question, what was I doing? No, they stamped me in. In short, his superior came and collected my passport and escorted me to a private arrangement and stamped me in, took my biometrics and said, welcome to our country. Like nobody harassed me or intimidated me in Cambodia. I was just there having seafood, you know, enjoying the weather and doing my work. And I came back afterwards. And the US State Department sent a letter thanking me for sacrificing my time, resources, and knowledge, agreeing to go and transfer it to young people in Southeast Asia. Until today, I still keep in touch with a lot of them. So for me, do well, do good, and serve. Serve and continue to serve people. So first, you know, in the political space, the term youth and young person is relatively different from what the law says or what it should be. So a 50-year-old is still addressed as a youth because they keep telling them, wait till your turn. So that's why today a 50, a 60-year-old person, there was a time that the political party youth leader was a professor, you know? I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu is scared and worried. That is why he's saying that, and I'll tell you why, with a short story. When we were leading the Not Too Young to Run movement, advocating for the age reduction bill at that time, which is now law, we were the first ever group in Nigeria's political history and culture that gave a sitting president who was democratically elected ultimatum, if you remember. We were doing countdown for the president to assent on the bill. And we gave him an ultimatum with a deadline of Nigeria's Democracy Day for him to sign. And you remember his official statement, which was gazetted, that day he said, and I quote, that young people should wait till after 2023. He said that because he was scared. I told people that there is an opportunity that we missed at that time. And it's really sad that, but it's not sad, it's because a lot of us, until today, are selfless people. the leaders of the Not Too Young to Run movement are selfless people. Because I tell people that if I was selfish and had political interest, it would have been an easy walkover for me to win election in 2019, either House of Representatives or even maybe Senate. Because in 2019, the leadership of the movement was very popular. We're very prominent. Like there is nowhere you go to. In short, in my constituents, there was pressure. At that time, there were people who were saying they would fund my campaign. They would buy me form, they would fund my campaign and ensure I'm victorious. And at that time, all the political parties were calling for us, for either endorsement or for us to associate with them, and that they will give us tickets. Because we identify with any group at that time brings goodwill. But because we were selfless, we were doing it not because of ourselves. We were doing it for Nigeria's political history and inspiring and mobilizing young people to take leadership position and removing that barrier, which was age. Mr. President was scared and worried because there was no group as organized as us and prominent as us. So that's why then, if you listen to that, he was begging. That speech was him begging, saying, wait till after 2023. That I'm signing this bill so you know that I'm a youth-friendly president, so give me your vote and wait till 2023 to run. Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying this is, he's scared and he's worried because now young people are better organized, they're better informed, and because he also belonged to the old political order. You know, he's celebrating his 70 years of age in March, and he's organizing a symposium. And I've been invited to speak on the panel. It was meant to be 26th of March, but now it's 2nd of April because of the convention they're planning to hold. And he invited me as a prominent youth, young leader now, to come and speak. So Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think he's scared, he's worried, and he now understands that young people are organizing, they're mobilizing. So today we have the We Together movement. You know, we've launched the Green Nigerian movement. A lot of other groups would spring up ahead of 2023. But I believe, and I'm also advocating, even within these groups and conversation and the consultation, that we should consolidate. Yes, we don't have to agree on every issue. But what's important is we must put Nigeria ahead of our interest. So whatever interest we have, Nigeria must come first. And the people must come second. And our vision must be about service. You know, I had a conversation with the We Together movement. I'm one of the co-conveners of the Green Nigerian movement. And I'm having other conversations with politicians and political groups, both from the ruling political class and the major opposition, and even other political parties, and even political aspirants or presidential aspirants. I will tell you for free, a lot of them are reaching out to me, consulting with me, asking for my support and endorsement. A lot of them, you would be shocked and surprised that even before they went public, there was a conversation with me saying this is their intention, they want my support. But again, like I tell young people, it is too early to support anybody. Because right now, everybody is an aspirant. Everybody is declaring. Anybody can declare, as long as they're above 35. They can declare to become president. So it's not about declaration. What is the vision of that person? And what has the person done? So you're saying you want to be president. Like I tell young people, the person who says he wants to lead us, who has he led before? What is their track record? What happened when the person left that office or position? Did it die? Was there a system? Was there a process? Was there a culture? Was it a relationship between more like lords and servants, or oga and boys? So if anyone is saying, come and support me now, it's too early. By the way, the political parties, they've not held their convention. They've not held their primaries. You say I should support you. Are you the flag bearer of your party? No. Can you guarantee you will win the primaries? No. Because right now, as we speak, nobody can beat their chest that they have the structures of the party and that they will emerge as candidates. So it's too early. And in politics, don't be in a hurry, because the landscape is changing. Within 24 hours, things turn around. You go to bed, you wake up, the conversation has changed. So why are you in a hurry? So for me, young people, let's be patient. Let us continue to organize and mobilize and educate, particularly at the grassroots, because that's where you have the electorate. Let us also continue to have consultation. Let's have dialogue. For me, I would not shut the door on anybody. No. And I will not discriminate against anybody, being young, old. No. I would listen to you. I would ask you questions. What are your plans? What are your manifesto? Who have you impacted? What have you done? What is your legacy? What is your trajectory? What is your story? What is inspiring you? Why is it you? Because see, for me, I've enjoyed goodwill. And now I'm now even conscious and understanding the goodwill I'm enjoying with my 35th birthday symposium. Because the goodwill that have been turned out. So I published in less than 48 hours, 500 people registered. We had to shut it down because the venue itself can only take about 400. And I also have invited guests. So now we have over 800 guests. We don't even know where they will stay. And people are flying in. Some of my friends are coming from abroad. Some Nigerians in diaspora are coming. Someone sent me a WhatsApp or Facebook message. I'm coming from the UK for your event. I say, but you can follow it virtually. I say, no, I will come in person. So I have power. I have influence. I have goodwill. Why would I choose to remain on the sideline? No, I would play politics. I would use my power, my influence, my goodwill, my credibility, and mobilize young people and change the narrative. We will play politics, but we'll play it as professionals. We'll play it to serve our country, not for our selfish interests. No, it will be a collective interest of the people. And like I told my co-convener, before any decision will be made on 2023, we would sit down with everyone and agree. So our decision must be informed by data and by the realities, not sentiment, not propaganda. But this politics, I'm not only playing it, I am mobilizing my peers to play it with us. We must consolidate and play it, and we must come together and set Nigeria on a course towards greatness, not by staying on the sideline, not by ranting on Twitter. It's important, yes, to have this conversation on Twitter space, but we must fold our hands and go to the trenches. We must reach out because we are a generation that connects the past to the future. We are now the custodian of Nigeria's political history. We cannot afford to fail. Now is not the time. First, let me apologize to women and girls because we have failed them. The men race have failed women. Sadly, we're all made by women, but we continue to fail women. And we continue to set what women should be or do in the society. That kind of society cannot grow. It is really sad and unfortunate that the National Assembly, that has over 95% men, rejected the bill. And I'm really glad and excited that women stood their ground, organizing, mobilizing, and demanding that they take a step back and vote again for the passage of this bill. And without undermining what women have done. Because today, I'm here because my mother deliberately invested in me, and I always say proudly that I was made by a woman. And all the support I've enjoyed and goodwill, most came from women because they're natural leaders and they know how to identify promising young leaders. They need to separate politics and their advocacy with emotions or sentiment. The lawmakers are playing politics. Women make over 50% of registered eligible voters. And on election day, most people on the line are women. I think that the women leading this movement to ensure that women's rights and dignity are restored needs to go and start mobilizing the grassroots women and become more political about it and intentional. They need to understand that it's about numbers. Why they listen to them and do away with their previous votes is because of the numbers and the momentum that was built. Women need to build on those momentum and make it more political. Because for you to negotiate power, you must come with numbers. So what numbers do you have? Today, I have a seat, I have a voice, because I control young people that have capacity, that have credibility, and knows the difference between their left and right. They need to become more intentional and get more women. So ahead 2023, they should at least have 50% seat in the National Assembly, because if that happens, then they don't even need to be pushing for a bill for affirmative action or specific chairs are reserved for them. For me, equity is about ensuring fairness and justice, and I will continue to support women, and I thank them, and I hope that they forgive men who have continued to fail them and our country.